Nobody teaches us how to be parents. Welcome back to another episode of Irrepressible, ordinary people with extraordinary resilience. And in this episode, I speak to one half of the sober experiment, Lisa. In this episode, we talk about Lisa's life as a parent and what that means for her and the struggles that she went through with her daughter, who found herself mixing in a difficult crowd. Lisa found herself out late at night in the car searching for her daughter. And we talk about the resilience that was needed to get through that. We also combine that with speaking about Lisa's relationship with alcohol and how she believes her changed relationship with alcohol sparked a change in her daughter's behavior. This is a really, really important episode, I think, particularly for anybody that's a parent. I think we all know how hard it can be. We all know that there's no rule book, there's no handbook, there's no instructions for how to do this. And I think a lot of what Lisa says will resonate with a lot of parents, whether their children have been through the same thing as Lisa's daughter went through or not. There's a lot in here to be able to take away. If this is the first time that you've ever been here, please make sure that you have subscribed and turned on the notifications so you know each and every time we post a new video. And I hope you take as much from this interview as I did. So Lisa, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, thank you, Josh. A little bit nervous because I'm not normally on my own, but yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm good, and I'm looking forward to this because I don't really know where we're going to go with it, which is nice because obviously you're normally part of the sober experiment, which you're probably about to tell us. So rather than me going down that route, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the world at the moment?
Okay, so at the moment, I am a mother of three teenagers. One of them's 21 now, so she's not really a teenager. And she doesn't even live at home anymore, but it's just habit. So yeah, I'm a mum of three. I work with my family as well as running the sober experiment with Alex. We've got a family business and we actually run a worldwide accreditation board for holistic therapists and training providers, which is fantastic. So my daughter works there, my mum, and my son has just started an apprenticeship, which is really exciting.
Wow.
As well as the sober experiment, which I'm so passionate about. You know, me and Alex working with your best friend is just so much fun. But I'm also a co-founder of Be Sober Manchester, which is like a group for like-minded people meeting up and walking, doing events, things like that. So I'm quite a busy person, Josh, at the moment.
Yeah, I didn't know you did all the other things. I thought you did like sober experiment, and that seemed like enough to me. So
yeah, it can be sometimes.
Yeah. So well, that's incredible. That's incredible that you're doing that much in the world, and obviously it feels like you're, based on that, it feels like you're in quite a good space in your life at the moment, right?
I'm in a very good space in my life at the moment, and I'm excited to say that, and I'm holding on to it for as long as possible.
Yeah, good.
Because it's took a lot of time to get here, but yeah.
Good. Which leads nicely into what we're going to talk about for the next sort of 20 minutes, right? So why don't I, today we want to talk about resilience and stuff. So why don't we dive straight in and you tell me, the adversity that you faced that's meant that you've had to be resilient in your life.
Oh, Josh, there's been so many different things. I think I've kind of touched on everything throughout my 40 years life. But the biggest one is probably for me is parenting and my youngest two children getting into, there's a lot of, and it's not really spoke about in my area and certainly not with people that I know, but there's a lot of criminal exploitation where I come from. And my youngest daughter in particular, when she was just 11, got massively caught up with a really, really bad crowd. And we had a nightmare. That's the only way that I can put it. And I thought it would never, ever end. And I often say, when me and Alex talk on our podcast, I'll say, oh, my children went a little bit wild and blah, blah, blah. And then I move on from it really quickly. So I've never really spoken about it before. So there was a lot at the time. There was a lot of I brought things down because I genuinely, there was so much going on.
Yeah.
it was just like a blur, and it was like a 2-year period of just hell. But there was a lot of missings from home at the time, a lot of them, and she was just 11 at the time, so it was like really, really scary. My car got stolen. I looked out of my window one morning, it must have been about 3 o'clock in the morning, and my own car was driving down the street.
Wow.
With my 11-year-old sat in it, and a lad driving it.
And this is when she's 11 years old?
Yeah, she was 11 years old. Oh, Josh, it was awful. It was really, really awful. So yes, she did that. So there were a lot of missings, like constantly. She was just going missing. And I remember all my friends saying to me, like, just tell her she's grounded. And I was like, no shit, I've not tried that one. You know, like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. And how long was she missing? When you say going missing, how long are we talking?
Sometimes I'd wake up in the morning, she'd be gone. I'd just have no idea where she was. Sometimes she got brought home by the police at ridiculous hours. There was times where I'd be like, right, you've got to be in for a certain time. Not a chance. She'd just disappear. So I'd have to be going out in my car searching for her. She was just just a really, really bad crowd. At the time, I had to leave a job because, as well as my family business, I was running a Slimming World group. Right. So I had like a group every Saturday morning, which was fantastic. And I was an area manager for the Slimming World. There was just no way I could keep it down. There was no way, like, when my car went missing, I had a group that morning. I couldn't get to group. I couldn't get my stuff there. I was like, so it was just more or less impossible. There was social workers got involved, police got involved, and I was desperate for them, Josh. I was desperate to try and find help because I knew deep inside that my little girl was there, and I knew she was going to come back, but I just didn't know when, and I didn't know where or how to find help or support at that time. It was a really, really long time.
Yeah. And how long did it go on for? From she was at 11 till
11, 12, probably about 2 years.
2 years of that. Yeah. Just like, it must have never left your mind.
No, I'm grateful every day because we have such a wonderful relationship now, and she's amazing. She's kind of like, oh, I can't believe that was me. And she doesn't recognize even herself at that point, but it would just, and I think even I've blocked some of it out. I think you do. Is that like a normal thing to do? You just kind of block it out.
It's not something that, you know, when you've moved through something like that, it's not something that you're going to want to keep revisiting, right?
No.
When it's a horrible time like that, I think that's probably something that the human mind does pretty purposefully, right? To stop us doing that. And I want to ask you, because at the beginning, I think this is important. You call it criminal exploitation, right?
Yeah.
Now, I do a lot of work in this area, so I know all about like criminal grooming and the exploitation of young people. I think society is like will understand other forms of exploitation, but struggle with the criminal exploitation. A bit like your friends that were saying, "Why don't you just ground her?" Right?
Absolutely. I think it's really difficult. I don't know if anybody else has this, but in our local area, we've got like a discuss group. So her face was on that many times. And I grew up in this area. Like, I know everybody. I grew up in a pub in this area, so everyone knows like she belongs to me. And the comments of adults for these like kids going around and doing so, they were horrific.
Yeah,
Josh, they were so bad, and I don't think people do understand it. I had nobody at that time that got it. It was just like, she's 11, just sort her out.
Yeah, and listen, I see that on the social media groups online and stuff, and you see like adults slamming these young kids, young. You know, your daughter was 11 years old as well, right? And they slam them, and they slam the parents as well, right? It's all like
massively.
Why don't you just get them, you know, clip around the ear or all this kind of crap that people come out with, as if it's simplistic as that. Do you have any like idea of how she became to be exploited in that way, to get wrapped up at that in a young age? And that's a difficult question, but
yeah, it's a difficult question, especially because we don't talk about it that much. It was looking back, and I think she's only just learning to kind of come to terms with things and wondering why. And we spoke not that long ago, and she'd seen something when she was about 10 or 11 that she definitely shouldn't have seen. And I don't want to go too much into it.
no, of course,
that's
you
all
don't have
right.
to.
Just
Yeah,
because, is
that's
that
enough.
all
You said
right?
enough on that front. Absolutely.
And so looking back, I can see that was definitely caused a massive trauma, and she never told anybody. She kept it complete secret. So inside, she was kind of holding on to this and not telling anybody, and then she just literally fell into it. She started school in the September, so from primary school to high school there was just such a massive change. Like at primary school, she played for the local town's netball, she did acting, modeling, she got all A's every single year. She had like 5s and A's for everything. And then within 6 weeks, in the 6-week holidays, it all just changed, and she hated school. She just hated it. So at first we thought it was that, and I was battling with you've got to go, everybody has to go. She actually has really, really high anxiety, and that's something that we've learned to deal with as well. So, but it was just the trauma, and then she was leaving school, I don't know how really she got into that crowd.
Yeah, of course there's probably complex reasons that, like, when you start getting into the semantics of it all, but that makes total sense what you've said, right? If she's got like the anxiety stuff going on, and then when you experience some kind of trauma like that for whatever reason you feel like you can't discuss and explore and speak about, then all of a sudden you're alone, right? And then so naturally, well, not naturally, that's the wrong word, but to me, it would make perfect sense in how somebody would start to end up in situations that help them to escape, right? However problematic that might be.
Yeah.
We know as adults, we can go and sit in a pub for an evening and drink alcohol to escape our emotions, right? At 11 years old, you do whatever you can to do that. So I think, I just think that's a really important thing to highlight, that your daughter essentially was a victim that got caught up in something because she was a victim of her experiences, right? In that sense. So how did you get through it? How did you what did you draw upon? What did you do? Because, like, I think, I always trying to relate it to myself. My eldest daughter is now 14. I've had a couple of things recently, which there's one she snuck out in the night and stuff like that. And I just feel at a loss. You do the get angry, you do the sit down and try and reason with them. You do everything that you kind of not taught, but that you kind of hear that you should do as a parent. And when they're all failing, what did you do to keep your own sanity?
It was so hard. The first thing I did, because at the beginning, Josh, I did used to drink then. So what I found was that when she was like being a swine, I was trying to switch off from everything that was going on by going to the pub and drinking and pretending that it wasn't happening. It was a bit like, woe is me. And I just couldn't do it. It was that, really, after really, really bad hangovers, and realised, I'm like, I've got to show up here. This is my daughter. She's like, and I felt sorry for myself at first. It was like, why has this got, her dad weren't helping out, he weren't around. It was like, all me. So there was that at the beginning. Stopping drinking was the first and the very best thing that I did, because it meant that I could drive around and look for her. But 2, it gave me that kind of clarity and strength to really be there for her. But it was hard. We fought, but at least for the first 6-7 months, it was just a battle of wills, because I didn't know what was going on. I thought she was just being naughty. I didn't know there was anything like behind. I just didn't know what was going on. So yeah, definitely the stopping drinking helped so much. Then I'm really into mindfulness. So I started meditation classes, and it was literally 1 hour a week. And honestly, at that time, it was the only hour that I got to switch off from everything. And even if I didn't do it right, or, you know, whatever, it was just 1 hour that would kind of bring me into the now. And that massively helped. Just my favorite quote, and it's so cliche, is you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
But it's true. And I remember being at the point, like, I cannot do this if I don't look after myself, if I don't eat well, if I don't nourish myself, if I don't try and be in the now. So mindfulness for me, definitely.
And look, what's so sort of powerful and incredible really about that is the question was like, what did you do to get yourself through it in order to be able to help your daughter, right? And the answers is you like looked after yourself, you stopped the drinking, and then you found that time to make sure that your cup isn't empty, right? Another analogy I like is that they on a plane, they always tell you to put your oxygen mask on first, right? And so it's that real resilience piece is when you started saying to yourself, I need to do something with me. And then do you feel like that then also started to change things for your daughter as well? Do you believe that's when things started to change for your daughter?
Massively. I actually really do. And it's really hard, that, because then you mess with your own head, like, was it my fault that she was doing these things? And now I've sorted myself out, everything seems to be a lot better. So it's something that but it definitely has made a huge difference.
And I would take away the idea of fault or blame, right? Because parenting is without question the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life, right? And I think if you get it right, 30% of the time, you're doing well. And nobody knows what the other 70% when we don't get it right, you know, nobody knows what that's going to mean, right? And I think if you get through life with the 70% of the time that you mess up, it not really having much of an impact on your children, you've done well, right? And I relate to that burying my head. I think it's too easy. It's too easy to just pretend that as a parent, it's like, nope. You know, like people often say, I'd do anything for my kids. And that's true, right? If you asked me that question at any stage in my life, the answer I would give you is, of course, I'd do anything for my kids. But I know, for me personally, my first response when my kids are struggling is to just bury my head and say things like, I just want everyone to be happy, right? And run away and hope
go plastering everybody up.
and hope that tomorrow it'll be okay, right? But that doesn't in the end work. So I kind of really relate to that. So do you think they're like the two main things that you would say is like the mindfulness and the stopping drinking?
Absolutely, 100%. And walking my dog, like, that really helped. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but there were times I would just want to explode. And I think, just honestly, I rescued this dog about 2 or 3 years ago, actually, around the same time. And I always say he actually rescued me, because the times I could just put the lead on, go out, breathe, and reevaluate things in my head. Definitely.
And what do you think, you know, how old's your daughter now, the daughter that we're talking about?
She's 14 now.
She's 14 now, and she's come through that now. It's not something that she's involved in.
She's not involved in it at all. She's amazing. And we have the best relationship. It's just, even she's really surprised sometimes, and she opens up a lot more now about things, and we talk. And at one point, I never thought it would happen. At one point, honestly, I thought I'd lose her. I genuinely did. We had people saying she's going to have to go to this school that's got like a really bad name, and it was just awful. And I was like, I can't send her there. I know, but I really thought I was going to lose her, and I didn't know what I was going to do at times. I genuinely thought, I cannot do this on my own. So to see her now, and she smiles all the time, is just amazing. It's really good.
Yeah, incredible. And what do you think this has taught you? What do you think you've learned about yourself as a result of kind of it's such a massive thing to go through, right? I mean, like, you know, you said there, you at one point, you know, you really thought you was going to lose her. I mean,
Yeah.
like a massive thought, right? So to have come
Oh
through where
god,
you
yeah.
are, to be that close to her, what do you think the real takeaways are that you've learned about yourself?
Um, I'm definitely stronger than I ever thought
Yeah,
there would be, and I really believe. You know, I again, it sounds cliche, but I really believe that if you want something bad enough, that you can do it. You can do anything, and you've got to. I believed in her. I knew she was there. I believed in myself. I believed in her. I believed in our surroundings, and I knew that she'd be all right. But yeah, just strength, I think, and resilience. You know, it got to a point where there were that much happening. You know, like when I say about the car, and my son was being a bit of a nightmare at that time. So as she was going through all that, he was sneakily going off the rails in a different way, and I was
yeah,
like, oh my god, so much so. And I laugh at this now, but like one Christmas, he said to me, "Oh, this Christmas Eve so much better than last one." And I was like, "Why? What happened last Christmas Eve?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell you if you don't remember." I said, "Why? What happened?" And he was like, "I got arrested because I'd been in that car." And I was like, "Did you?" That's how much were going in my life, going
yeah,
on. I actually forgot that on Christmas Eve, my own son had got arrested. Like, who forgets that?
yeah, yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It was just like, but you can literally, people change, circumstances change. And I genuinely believe that everybody's got that strength.
yeah. If when you're pushed to it, right, and you do what you need to do, um, I think we are. This is what this is all about, because I just think everybody has that resilience in them, right? And everybody has like a story. And even with like the work that you do, and I kind of, you know, I see your stuff online and stuff like that. I would never have known that you'd been through that to get to where you are, and how much power there is in what you've been through to get where you are. Do you know what I mean?
I
Um,
know I struggle with that, Josh, a little bit because I'm quite blasé about things, and I think because to me it was my normal, and I've kind of got there, and I'm not one that massively focuses on the past a lot. I am a get on and move on, and I think that I love your posts actually, because sometimes I think, that's why I'm like that,
yeah,
you know, with
yeah,
some of the stuff. But it has worked for me. That kind of mindset has worked. It's like focus now, focus in the future. For me, I'm not going over all that. It's
it's
done.
done. Yeah,
But then I do realise that I can come across sometimes as a little bit woohoo, let's all, like, do you know what I
I
mean?
do.
Let's
Yeah,
all be dead positive, and it can be quite irritating.
no, but this is the thing as well. It's different for everybody, right? We're all like I know for me personally, I can get too caught up in the past stuff, right? I'm like, oh, let's go over here and dig and find out why we like it, right? And every now and then, I need someone to go, look, seriously, let's just forget about that now. Let's concentrate on what we
Yeah.
can do, right? Where and you know, so there's nuance in that, but I think we are all different in that respect, and we all bring different stuff to the table. So look, because I'm conscious of time, but before we start to wrap it up, can you just tell us a little bit? I know you started off by telling us what you do now, but I know some of the kind of answer to this. But for people that might not know, what does your life look like today in terms of, you know, you stopped drinking? Is that still something that you don't do, right? And what do you do in your life? Tell me a little bit about what it looks like now.
Stopping drinking has been the single best thing that has ever happened to me. I can't even believe how much I love being sober, and because of all that, and how excited I was by how good I was, like waking up feeling amazing every morning, and how much it brought into my life, I needed people to know that they should try it out too,
Yeah,
and that it could possibly change their life as well. That's when kind of Be Sober Manchester started. I just wanted to meet like-minded people. So me and another girl, we met through Instagram actually. So I love Instagram for things like this. It's
yeah,
amazing, isn't it? So we met, and then we started Be Sober Manchester. With that, then Alex, my best friend, decided that she was going to get sober about a year after me. So I was like, yes, this is brilliant. And that's how the sober experiment started. So we encourage people to take on a 30-day sober experiment, but in that time we really help with the mindset. So they get like 30 videos each day, and it's all about changing the mindset from I can't drink to actually I don't really need this in my life. And it's not about necessarily having to be an alcoholic to do this. It's more for grey area drinkers, and as a prevention before we ever get to that point. But we also go to workplaces. So we do like presentations in the workplace now, which we've had to start doing online. So we encourage all the employers to do a 30-day experiment together, and we talk about the effects that alcohol has on your mental health, your physical health, and of course in the workplace and productivity and things like that. So we're busy with that. With the Be Sober Manchester, we've just started looking for ambassadors for that as well, so people can start meetups in their own area. So that's something that we're all working on, and Alex is on board on that now, so that's exciting.
And with that sober experiment thing, is that like the method? Do you present the method to people, the method that you used? Is that how, did you come up with that? Is that just how you stopped? Yeah, you just did it yourself through coming up with...
Yeah, we literally use everything that worked for us. So it's really weird, and this wasn't purposeful, but I've got a journal here. So what they do is they do the 30-day experiment. They can download this journal for free, or they can buy it off Amazon or whatever. And each day we set little activities, not a lot. So like one of them might be like writing a letter to you in a voice. Another one is to kind of spot how alcohol is marketed to you, because I think once people see that and they realise they've been sold a lie, that's a good mindset changer. So yeah, it's just everything that worked for us really.
Yeah, and I think it's really important work, especially what you said about like, because I think what we do, particularly in like Western society, we have this really binary like alcoholic thing. And it's like, if I'm not an alcoholic, right? And then you have like the kind of 12-step stuff. So you have like AA and stuff, but that's just not for everyone. It's just not the route for everyone. And I think the space that doesn't massively exist really, does it? Right? You're either an alcoholic who goes to meetings, right? Or you don't have a problem. So I personally think what you're doing is so needed. It's so important to help people address that relationship with alcohol. I love that you call it an experiment, because even, that is like saying, look, we're not saying you have to stop alcohol. We're saying, come do the experiment. Here's the tools to do it in a mindful way, which makes it, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my opinion, that makes it even better than just doing like, because I think a lot of people do like sober January, don't they? Dry January. And it's just like stop and then smash it in February. Whereas actually, if you do it mindfully, journaling and doing all that, that's how you'll learn from it, right? And you'll come through it better.
It makes such a difference. I think taking out the word challenge, because it was everywhere, a challenge. And what do you do after a challenge? Everyone I've ever talked, like you say, like January, you quit January and you like aiming for the end of it.
Yeah.
Whereas this 30 days, we always say that is just the beginning. Just see what life is like without it by using these tools.
Yeah.
And we've got people now celebrating. We only started this in September. And we've got people now celebrating like 9-10 months sober. It's just amazing. It really, really is.
It is incredible. It's incredible.
It's proper good.
And so needed, and just testament to what you've been able to achieve really out of everything that you've experienced. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure, like everybody, what you've shared is even just a small part of the the life road. You've picked one part.
I don't know how you get that into like 20 minutes. So I've just gone da. And yeah, there were a lot more.
No, but look, I really appreciate it. I've really, like I say, I had no idea what you was going to talk about today. So
neither did I, Josh. Thank you.
So it's been good, and I think particularly parents, that there's a lot of parents that are going through exactly what you were going through, right? And they're going through it right now, and they don't think it's ever going to end like you did. So that I think there's a hell of a lot to be learned, and a hell of a lot of people that will be able to watch this and take a lot from it. Just quickly before we wrap up, where's the best place for people to come and find you? I will obviously link it all in the comments to all this and tag you in everything, but where is the best place?
Instagram at Sober Experiment. We've got a website which is soberexperiment.co.uk, but Instagram we use
That's
a
the
lot,
place.
really. And
Yeah.
that's the place we put it on there. And can I just say before we do go about asking for help, it's really important that if you can, don't give up on asking for help. You know, you can get brushed away and, oh, they'll be fine, but you know inside, and don't be afraid of asking people for help. That's what they're there for. Even the police, social workers, you know, like yourselves, it's really important that people ask.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. And don't give up if the first person that you asked isn't the one that can help you, right?
Yeah, because they're probably not going to be able to.
Yeah,
The first person is probably like, no, but don't give up.
Thank you. What a way to end. Lisa, this has been amazing. I can't wait to put it out and share it with people. And I just want to
thank you so much for having me, Josh.
Thank you.
See you later.